Alright, welcome back. This section is about relationship attachment mindfulness. We're going to look at a bit of education related to this, and then we're going to do a practice. Starting with some education, what we're doing is drawing a little bit from the adult attachment theory and also drawing from DBT inspired skills. And then bringing this into, speaking of relationship attachment, let my cat in, baby. There's one. We'll see what happens with the other. So we're also going to look at some DBT inspired skills. We're really going to go deeper into the skills as we go through the course. This section, we're going to draw a bit from them, mainly in the practice, and just touching on them lightly in the teaching. Begin to bring your attention. Let the education also be moving into a deeper state of awareness and mindfulness around relationships and attachment. Depending on both generation messages that are passed down from family to family through our ancestry and our dynamics in our family systems, community systems, many other of our systems, work systems, friendship systems, intimate partner systems. All of this is, dialectically speaking, informing our attachment systems. Dialectically, we're looking at how opposites coexist all at once. From a non-judgmental framework, which is central in the DBT-inspired work that is part of DSola, Dialectical Sustainability of Love Alliance, that is representing this school. At the very heart, we're taking a non-judgmental and compassionate stance. Compassion can be fierce. It's definitely not for the faint of heart. It's an in-depth practice of maintaining compassion for ourselves and others, while also being attentive to the reality of our circumstances, our emotions, thoughts, anything that represents our inner universe, sensations in our bodies, and paying attention also to what we see around us with our five senses: our sight, our sense of touch, our what we hear, sound, taste, smell. Considering all of that attachment and mindfulness, we first want to bring attention to viewing ourselves as dialectical creatures, meaning, a lot of attachment theory is taught in the specific styles, right? Like people end up categorizing themselves and others in specific relationship styles that represent people, withdrawing or moving towards relationships when they're under stress as a way of coping with the stress, and a mix of doing both of those in ways that activate the relationship and ways that may actually cue stress in the relationship would be sometimes withdrawing, sometimes moving towards the relationship under stress in what can be intense moves in those directions that are very felt by the other person or the people around the other side of those behaviors. So that is more classified as like anxious avoidant attachment styles. We have avoidant attachment style, anxious attachment style. From a dialectical perspective, I'm not going to focus on styles because what I really want to do is draw from behaviors, right? From a more dialectical framework that all of us can do these various behaviors at different times, depending on what's happening in the greater picture of our lives and our circumstances, depending on what's happening in specific relationship dynamics. And the more that we can reinforce increased sense of security in relationship to ourselves and our own inner universe, and what's true, what's alive and running through us and our vitality, the more we're going to also be able to support sustainable relationships all around us, which in our current circumstances, with a lot of our systems being dismantled, we need the sense of sustainable bonds, sustainable communities, sustainable attachment connections. One of the, if not the most central driving force in this is actually emotional responsiveness. We're going to talk a lot more about that and do lots of practices and education and didactics like throughout the whole course here. That is from top researchers of our time and in many ways of our history in psychology fields. I also draw from yoga therapeutics and a number of other intimacy-based related fields, as well as Eastern philosophy of many branches. Bringing all that to the table with behavioral science, what we know is that we want a balance of acceptance and change in these dynamics. Moving in that direction of increasing our mindfulness in our relationship dynamics so that we are more likely to have more in-depth support, intrinsic support that we truly need to help us to navigate an increasingly higher stress environment, as well as taking the lens out from a more global view into a more intrinsic view of your specific relational systems around you, whether that's intimate partnership, whether you're single or coupled or trioed or whatever you may be. There's always a dynamic going on there, right? That's often the most vulnerable aspect of ourselves. So we're bringing attention to that lens in relationship to these dialectical behaviors of withdrawal, moving toward in the midst of stress to cope with a number of dynamics that we're going to talk about even further. It's also happening right in our work environments, in our collegial relationships, in our family of origin perhaps, or our chosen family, our community dynamics. So taking this lens and looking, and particularly I'm going to zero in on intimacy because that's so often such a vulnerable aspect of our relationship dynamics. In the context of withdrawing and moving towards relationships under stress, both of these have values, right? Both have value and both can interfere in intimacy. And there's a lot of factors that, whether it goes in one direction or another, or often it's going in both in different ways. Taking the lens to the more that we can balance with closeness, the more that we can balance a sense of liberation to be ourselves and increase our capacity for closeness, our capacity for mutual support and relationship building, the more solid we are going to have our system structures to navigate the stressors in our lives and society, wherever those stressors may come from. So having the relationship connectivity is super important. We know that with suicide ideation, for example, or other escape behaviors like substance abuse or overuse, non-suicidal self-injury behaviors, that the more that we actually have true functioning, effective, helpful, emotional support and validation, that we can help warrant off many of those behaviors. So that really spells out that we need a whole society that is functioning with a greater level of emotional support, that we need to find ways to work together to increase our standards for emotional. We all need to be consciously working on that together so that we can increase our standards for ourselves and one another and for our communities at large, to increase emotional support as a way to build resilience around life stressors and to help prevent mental health, we'll just say crashes for right now, mental health, societal problems on the rise. So, right, no small feat. We're just going to do a little bit of mindfulness around it today. This video I've decided to share, I want to start off the course with. So the whole course is a lot to come, educate around these dynamics from the various different sources that I spoke of earlier in the video. And for right now, I want to bring attention to some mindfulness around relationships, around our current attachment dynamics, and even fulfillment, satisfaction, acceptance, and change. So I just want to invite you to come to a comfortable position and just take a moment to begin to breathe, and invite you to actually turn your palms up and rest the backs of your hands on your legs. And as you do this, just take a moment to allow your shoulders to melt down your back. Take a moment to lengthen your neck, lengthen through your spine, and feel your sits bones on the ground, whatever you're sitting on or resting on. Allow yourself to feel your connection to whatever's holding you up in space right now, and begin to deepen your exhale. There is a relationship and communication that is incredibly powerful between our bodies and our minds and chemistry and nervous system. So when you release your palms open and rest the backs of your hands, we found through research that this actually communicates to your brain a sense of safety. And it communicates to your brain a sense of that there's an alert, that you can downregulate your nervous system, that you can release some fight-flight responses or other stress responses, right? There's many. So those are just a couple of common examples. So as you begin to deepen your breath, just take a moment to bring your attention to relationships related to intimacy. So if you are a solo flyer, that could even just be your relationship with yourself. Perhaps if you're coupled, you're considering yourself and a partner. If you are in the midst of exploring potential dynamics or dynamic, then perhaps you're considering your relationship to another person that has potential to build something with you. So whatever it is, take some nice deep breaths. Just begin to bring your attention to your relationship dynamics of intimacy. And when I say the word intimacy, I am referring to emotional closeness, connection, romantic connection in this context. It could also be physical affection. It could be logistical support. in the context of your personal life. And take a moment to consider what you like and don't like about what's happening in your life related to intimacy. You could think about a dynamic with yourself and how you're functioning in relationship to intimacy that you want in your life. You could also think about a dynamic with another person. And just allow yourself to be emotionally honest with yourself about what you like that's happening and what you don't like, without judgment, without saying something should or shouldn't happen in a specific way, without saying what's wrong or right. Just allowing yourself to experience what you do like and don't like. Take a little more time with what you don't like. And when you notice what you don't like, just notice how you feel in your body. Allow yourself to let go of control or just to control an outcome, right? So you might notice an urge to control an outcome without judging it, that urge to control an outcome, and invite you to, let's not use the words let go. It's not super helpful for a lot of people. Just invite you to relax with that urge, right? You don't have to necessarily act on it. You're allowing it to be there. And releasing some attachment really just means accepting reality. Reality is right now. And then take a moment to reflect on what you do like that's occurring. We're just going to let the meowing be a contribution to our practice today. Notice how you feel in your body when you stay present and aware of what you do like that's happening in this dynamic of intimacy in your life. Great, and you can explore with your eyes. You can have your eyes open for this, just letting your eyes rest in one spot, or you can also just be letting your eyelids rest over your eyes, whatever you did intuitively. Explore with that a little bit. We're not trying to force a specific stance because you can practice mindfulness anywhere you are. So it can be helpful though to practice with your eyes almost all the way closed and not fully closed if you have your eyelids resting. Because when you have your eyelids not all the way closed, you're still letting a little bit of light in. You're connecting with your vision a little bit. You're going to be a little bit more likely to be practicing mindfulness for any circumstance with your eyes open. There's a way that helps train the brain. With eyes open, you're more likely to recall your practice of mindfulness and be able to apply it in any given situation in your waking daily life, just out in the world with your eyes open in any situation. Great, and then take a moment to come back to this intimacy, right? And you may think of just one person in your life. And take a moment to consider what you would like them to understand better about you. What would you like them to understand better about you that would allow you to feel closer to them? And it's okay if you don't have immediate answers, just let yourself begin to explore that. And then I want to invite you to take a moment to consider, what is it like to be this person? What is it like to be in this person's experience? What do you think it's like to be them? And just allow yourself to breathe and feel into that experience of what it's like to be in their day and their life, with their history, with their feelings and thoughts. What do you imagine it's like for them? And just allow yourself to breathe with that. Notice any feelings. Even if you don't have words for the feelings right now, it's all right. You just notice a little bit of how you're feeling emotionally, perhaps on a sensory level in your body. And then if you actually imagine, if they imagine what it's like to be in your experience, what might they imagine? And then take a moment to reflect again on what you don't like that's happening right now. So there's something that you don't like that's happening right now. Just take a moment to consider that if you and this other person, and perhaps this is even like you in your relationship with yourself, and that's all right too. If you and this other person were to actually really problem solve like a team about what you don't like that's happening, what are some potential ways that you could do that? What are some potential solutions and or ways that you could see yourself engaging in the relational dynamic in a way that is supportive to mutual problem solving for what you experience as aversive or what you don't like? And so you don't have to act on this, you're just really imagining what it might look like to be together in a space of mutual problem solving, mutual repair, perhaps even. And do you imagine sitting close together, having conversation about brainstorming without any pressure on what it's going to look like, just non-judgmental brainstorming on potential ways to help increase your sense of connectivity, likeness, and closeness, to support both of your individuality and both of your needs. I'm just imagining what that might look like and feel like. Good, and then if your eyes aren't open, I invite you to just blink them gently open. And take a moment to just reach up to the sky and exhale your palms down towards the earth. Just a little like DYT movement, dialectical yoga therapeutics. My development, this is just like a little touch in with the feeling in your body as you ground and allow yourself to assimilate that relationship attachment mindfulness. Good, one more. Great. And just take a moment to notice the benefits of that mini practice, mini video. Notice how you feel in your body, how you feel emotionally, how you feel in your mind, even your greater sense of connectivity. All right, we're gonna stop here, and if you are in the full course, I'll see you in the next video. And thanks for taking time to participate in a bit of relationship attachment mindfulness. My hope is that this will help individuals, will also help a greater sense of community, will also help our deepening sense of capacity for intimacy, love, support, and emotional connection in our relationships, decreasing the loneliness epidemic and increasing substantial authentic sense of connection, interconnection.